All right, welcome back. Well, it's been a productive last few days, so a lot has happened, and let me show you what we've been up to. All right, welcome back to the channel. We got started that week by having Dennis, my plumber, out to the site. We went over the layout of all the drain lines and water lines. As you see, we've got them marked on the ground there, and then we got a mini X out on site and started digging the trenches for all those lines. Now Jeff is using that 2x6 on the ground there. Basically it's just a reference for grade to make sure that our trench is the depth that we want it to be. Now we're actually going to dig these trenches a little deeper than they need to be, and then we'll come back with the washed rock to create the bedding for all the pipes. It's kind of the preferred aggregate for plumbers and builders around this part of Montana. It's so nice to have an experienced operator like Shane doing this kind of stuff. I mean, he can just rip through this stuff, and you know, I think this maybe took him an hour to dig this entire trench. We did go ahead and fill in the end of that frost wall trench, just basically because we're going to need a way to get the skid steer in and out of there with the aggregate for all the drainage bedding. Now the aggregate we're going to use is called washed rock. It's basically, you know, 3/4 road mix without any sort of gravel or sand or anything in it. It's basically all rock. And now you can see why we dug our trenches a little deeper than they needed to be, because we want to come back with all that washed rock and build it back up to the grade and make sure that it has the correct fall, which for our application is about 1/4 inch per foot. All right, once the plumbers were happy with how we've got everything graded, they went ahead and started sort of mocking up all of their drain lines. This line going through the center is our main drain line. It's actually going to be under the slab in the garage. It'll go through that frost wall and go all the way out to our septic. And once Jacob here was happy with how everything was setting, he went ahead and got the glue out and started sort of connecting all of these trunks that are going to go to like the point of use drains that will be in the house. And I do just want to take a minute to thank Jacob and Wes for all their hard work. It's just really cool to see young guys in the trades that take pride in their work, want to do a good job, and seem like they enjoy doing the work itself. Just really cool to see young guys in the trades working with their hands like this. Once they've got that drain where they like it and the right pitch and everything, you can see they got everything stubbed up for the other drains, for the lavatory and the sinks and all that kind of stuff. Basically, all they're going to do is start putting in that wash rock and just to sort of really seat that drain line and make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And at this point, we've got that drain line going through the frost wall there where they want it, and now we're ready to go ahead and start backfilling against that frost wall itself. Which again, we're going to use some dirt to put a base down there, and then we're going to use this washed rock as a bed for this drain line, and then we're going to cover it with washed rock as well. Alright, at this point the plumbers are just wrapping up, and we got some rebar stakes in the ground with some tags just to kind of let everybody know where those utilities are going to be coming up out of the ground. And we wrapped up day one with all of the subgrade plumbing done. Alright, day two, and it is time to start backfilling. To make sure that we're going to get this wall nice and solid and all this backfill solid, we're going to use this machine here. Around here they call it a whacker packer. Back east we called it a jumping jack, but it basically will compact about 12 inches into the ground, as opposed to a plate compactor that will only compact the top couple inches. So basically, the methodology for this machine is you backfill about 12 to 24 inches of dirt, you hit it with that compactor, and then you keep going up until you get to your final grade. So while the guys were working on compacting that frost wall and getting that backfilled, I went ahead and started laying out for all of our post locations. What I'm doing here is, since that back wall is square with the side walls, I'm able just to pull a line off of each side along the footer, drill a hole into the top of the footer, and put this little screw in there, and I can use my string line to tie each side to side because I know that back wall is square, so I know my post location is going to be square and equal as well. Now, I also always make my layout lines about 5 or 6 feet wide. Once that auger gets in there and all that dirt sloughs out, you're going to want a really long line so you don't lose track of where you are. Now, at some point in the day, our friend Jeremiah showed up, and thankfully, because he actually was a heavy equipment operator and has been in general and rough construction for years, so he was actually able to jump into that machine. We had a couple guys on the ground continuing with that compaction, and just really help things move along pretty quickly. Now, since we've got that wall pretty much compacted and filled in, all that backfilling done properly, Shane is kind of just explaining to the crew what he wants to do here. And he's basically saying that he wants to build a little road in that goes over that frost wall for the skid steer to come into the sort of interior of the house, so that he has a way to do all the subgrade with the gravel and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, these guys are just going to continue getting that driveway sort of stabilized so we can get the skid steer in and out of here. And oh my gosh, look who it is. This is Maple, our little cattle jack. She's just the absolute best dog in the world, and she loves being right in the mix with us. And there's a good shot of all those layout lines for our posts. All right, time to dig some holes. Now, this is actually the second or third hole that we dug, and we got lucky. We were able to hit a lot of dirt here, so made it a little bit easier. But those holes towards the back were pretty problematic, and I'll show you kind of what we had to do to remedy that situation as well. And that pretty much did it for day 2. Awesome day. All right, it's day 3, and we are ready to address those post holes in the back that we were having issues with. Basically, because of the rocky nature of the soil here, we would bury that auger, pull it back out, and that hole would just slough right back in. So basically what we have to do here is use this product called Bentonite. Some people call it wall cake. Now, I've never really used this stuff before, so I'm going to try to explain to the best of my ability kind of how this stuff works, but it's basically like a kitty litter sort of consistency. You pour some of it in the hole, you pour some water in there, and then as the auger digs, it kind of creates this clay, and what that does is it basically stabilizes the wall of the hole that you're digging so that it won't really slough back in on you like it was.
This is the guy picking up the excavator finally.
And man, what a product. I mean, it worked perfectly. Those holes were nice and stable, and they didn't turn into 4-foot wide holes, which can happen in this part of the country. All right, with all of our holes drilled, we're ready to put some posts in the ground. Now for my posts, I decided to go with a 3-ply glue-lam treated column, which is 3 2x6s glued together with the bottom 6 to 8 feet finger jointed with treated lumber, and it's all ground contact rated. These treated columns are much more stable than a full piece of timber and a 6x6, and they're a lot stronger too. The only real consideration to make with these as opposed to a 6x6 is they are a 5.5 wide, but they're also only about 4.5 wide on the other side. So you got to make sure you get them oriented properly when you put them in the hole. Now 4 of these columns are 18 feet tall and 4 of them are 24 feet tall. So they're a little wonky and a little hard to manage on a windy day like this, but as long as you got a couple people there and you just put a little bit of elbow grease into it, you can get it where you want and ready to pour your sackcrete in. Now to stabilize these posts, once we get them where we want them, we're doing a dry set method, which is basically you just take your sackcrete, you pour it right into the hole, and then you pour some water on top of it. Take a spud bar, kind of slosh it around a little bit, and it'll set up just fine. We got some washed rock here that we're kind of throwing in on top of it, and that'll hold that thing in place until we can get them braced. We're also not going to completely fill that hole with concrete. Since we're going to be pouring concrete here, we're basically just going to get enough in there to stabilize them, and then that top foot or so, we're actually going to pour concrete into there when we pour the slabs. And with that last post set, we can pretty much start bracing these things up. You basically just get one of them nice and solid tied to a wall somewhere. I got some 20-foot links for that. And then you can kind of tie everything off of that and just, this is all belt and suspenders here. It probably didn't need this many braces, but it was a windy day and it's Montana in the spring. You just never know what's going to happen. So we just decided to use everything we had, and so we could all sleep pretty well that night, knowing that this was not going to go anywhere. Alright, well I think that's going to do it for this video. Really stoked on the progress, and it's kind of cool to see these posts up and start seeing the roof lines and get an idea what this place is going to look like. It's kind of one of those cool parts of the process where a big thing changes and you get a much better and bigger understanding of what the end result's going to be. So, you know, just really stoked on Shane and Jeff and Jim for coming out this week again and just knocking things out, and Jeremiah coming out. Special shout out to him for coming out and running the excavator for us for a little bit. And then a big thank you to Jacob and Wes from Granite Peak Plumbing in town. I mean, I could not be happier with their work. They came out, really awesome dudes, young guys in the trades, just absolutely crushing it, really taking a lot of pride in their work, and that's really cool to see. We got some subgrade to do, putting rebar and all that kind of stuff in, and then we'll be pouring concrete, and we're going to be pouring about 50 yards. But that'll be in the next video, so hope you come back and see us for that one. But thanks for watching this video, and if you got any questions or anything like that, feel free to comment and maybe subscribe. We're going to be doing this all summer long, so hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.